Welcome, welcome, welcome back to From Middle Class to Millions. I'm back. I just spent 8 days in France and in Belgium. I went for a friend's birthday and it was spectacular. I've been to Europe many times before, but I've never been to France or Belgium, which is so bizarre parce que French is the other language that I speak, and I just have never had the opportunity to go there. It's so weird. Anyway, I had a fantastic time, but that is not why I'm here today on this podcast episode. You know why I'm here. I'm here because I'm not teaching you something today. I'm here because I know who's listening to this episode. I know who you are. You're the person who's been watching. You've seen the webinar replays. You've read the emails that I've sent incessantly, even from Europe. You're the one that I've been having conversations with. And there's a group of you that have been circling around this thing for the past 2 weeks, and you haven't said yes yet. I went to France. I went to Belgium. I came back, and you still have not said yes. And I get it. Because it's kind of like the women that I was in France with who couldn't speak French. They were discombobulated. They didn't understand what was happening. And it's the same thing with financial language. I understand. Every time that I popped in to help somebody or, translate something for them so that they could get their needs met, they didn't feel as confused or as lost, and they were really grateful. And that's the same thing that I want to provide for you when it comes to financial literacy. That's the same language translation that I want to provide for you when it comes to talking about your money. I want to translate that language that Wall Street likes to make so very confusing to keep you out of it, to keep you at bay. Now, is that a conspiracy theory? I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. But if you have investments and you don't know what they're doing, if you want to start investing and you haven't because you're confused, if you are afraid and don't understand risk and don't understand the terms and don't understand what's going on, it is very similar to the women who are struggling to speak to the folks in France who couldn't speak English. And I know you need that intermediary, and I'm going to be that person for you. So maybe you're the person that's been watching, who's been struggling, who saw the webinar, who read the emails, and you thought, okay, I need this, and then something stopped you. And maybe it was the investment, maybe it's the timing, maybe it's just that voice in your head that's saying, yeah, not now, we've got to wait. This episode is for you if you're that person, because I want to talk about every single reason why you haven't said yes yet. Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of women have already said yes. A lot of folks are already in this group. I want to make sure that you don't lose this opportunity, because what I know is that after working with women, and the reason that most of them don't get started is really a fear, and it's a concern. And I want to name all of the fears and the concerns out loud. And I'm going to talk about every single one of them on this episode. And I'm not doing it to pressure you, but I'm doing it to assure you that other women have come in with the concerns that you probably have right now, and I want to address them. Okay? Because it's not the women who decide, yeah, I'm ready to do this right off the bat. They're not the ones that probably need this the most. They're the ones that are probably going to seek this out. Yeah, will it take them longer? Sure. But the ones that aren't doing this, the ones that are talking themselves out of it, the ones that are the most hesitant, I refuse to let you stay there, because I know how important this is, and I know how simple I make it for you so that it can totally change your life. So today I'm going to walk you through what the program actually is about and what it'll do for you. I'm going to address every single question, objection, everything I've heard to date, and every reason I know why people talk themselves out of joining the program. And I'm going to be real with you about waiting, because waiting has a cost, and the numbers matter. And I just want you to be clear about the decision that you're making. I want to empower you. I want you to feel comfortable about making these decisions, but I also want you to enroll in the program, because this program, From Middle Class to Millions, your 100K portfolio, it closes this Friday. It closes tomorrow, April 17th. Not next month, but this Friday. And on Friday, before the cart closes, I'm going to host an open session on Instagram where you can come and see, is this program for me? I'm going to talk about it more. I'm going to answer your questions. You can ask me anything directly. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a few minutes, but I want you to know that that's available for you tomorrow. So if it's over your lunchtime, if you can pop in your AirPods, your headphones, and listen to me and type in your questions if you're at work, or ask your questions directly if you want to get on. I want you to be able to do that. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But for now, I want to get into the program. I want to see if I can answer as many of your questions right now in case you can't be there tomorrow, and so that we can make sure that you're not missing out on this opportunity. Because I know a lot of you like money. And I know a lot of you like what money can do for you. You may not say you like money, but you like the things that money can buy. You like the things that money can provide. And I'll tell you what, you do those things, but there's an undercurrent of worry with you all the time, because you always want to continue doing those things or do more of those things, but you're worried. I want you to be able to do the things that you enjoy without that undercurrent of worry. And the way to ensure that worry disappears, partly, is to make sure that you have money. And the other part is to talk about what you think about money, how you feel about money, and how money plays a role in your life. So I want to make sure first and foremost that I'm talking to the right person, okay? Because this program is very specific. It's not for everybody, and I want to be very clear about that, all right? This is for the folks who have a solid income. You're earning a solid income, a real income, okay? And when you look at your bank account or your investment accounts or your net worth, the numbers don't quite match what you've been pulling in year after year. And you know who you are. You guys know who you are when you're the one, you've been making good money, and yet still it's like, I don't know if I have enough. I don't know if it's going to last. In fact, I don't even know what it's going to be. And those are for the ones that are actually investing. But for those of you who haven't even started, that's even more disturbing, because you don't even know what to do, how to go about doing what you believe you should be doing, and you don't know where to turn or whom to ask. Okay? And so this is why I want you to know very specifically that this is for the folks that are making the money, that are working hard, that are earning well, and they have little to show for it in terms of actual wealth. All right. And they definitely don't know if what they actually have is going to end up being enough. So you know who you are. Maybe you're contributing to your 401k, but you don't know what's in it, whether it's working for you. Maybe you have a savings account and you're calling it an investment account because you don't know what an investment account truly is, and you're afraid to invest because you've heard horror stories. So you're just in the bank earning 0.001%, or maybe you even got a high yield savings account and you're earning 3.5%, and good for you. But guess what? Inflation's going to come and wipe out at least 3% of that. So are you really ahead? So this is the person who's even like thinking, what is a brokerage account? Should I apply? Should I open one of these things? It's been on my to-do list, but I don't even know where to start. This is for you if you're the woman who's in transition. You're changing jobs. The kids have left the house. You're in a divorce. Your career has taken a complete turn. You came into money that you weren't expecting. You don't know what to do with it. You're rebuilding your life. You're starting from scratch in your 40s, 50s, and all of that, right? And it's urgent because you know that you've got to get a handle of this. But this is also for the woman who's investing, who knows that she should be investing, but every time she Googles it or asks ChatGPT or gets on YouTube, it becomes increasingly more confusing. I know you're reading the articles, but you don't feel confident enough to make any moves because you don't have anybody to ask, right? You have heard about all the things that you should be doing, but you don't even know where to start. You don't have anyone that you could actually ask questions about what to do, or if you should do this thing or that thing, or if you're even doing the right thing. And see, this is the thing. This is the thing with the high earners, right? Because there's the gap between what you earn and what you're actually building. That's not an income problem. Most of you don't have an income problem. You have a financial literacy problem. Remember what I said about the folks that were struggling in France who couldn't speak the language? I mean, they knew that they wanted bread and cheese and wine. They needed those things to sustain themselves. But they couldn't communicate that. And so guess what would happen? If you can't communicate, I need bread and cheese and wine, you're going to starve. Well, the equivalent to that with your finances, if you don't understand how to communicate bread, cheese, and wine financially, is that you're going to end up struggling. And I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me. And I don't want that for anybody who's working hard right now today. Okay? Because nobody teaches you this stuff. You don't learn it in more Most of us don't learn it from our parents. Even if the ones of you that have financial advisors, I know that they are supposed to educate you, but more often than not, the women that I talk to who go to financial advisors don't have a clue about what their investments are doing or what they're invested in, and they surely don't know how much they're paying in fees, right? So I want you to know that this isn't going to require you to become a financial analyst, a math wizard, an economist, none of those things. I built a multi-million-dollar net worth with a 9-to-5, and I was working with my W-2 salary. I didn't come from money. I didn't get a windfall. I just learned the math and the process. Now, let me tell you, I also learned the strategy, and I executed it. I actually took the steps to move forward, and it took me a very long time. If I had somebody who could truncate all of this for me, I would have made this money a lot sooner. I would have been able to retire a lot sooner. I would have had a lot less stress along the way. This is what I want you to understand. You do not have to struggle. So before I walk you through what's inside the program, I want to talk to you about something that I don't think gets said enough. Now, you already heard me say that I like money, and I actually believe that you guys like it too. I know people don't like to say that. They don't want to profess that they like money, but you like what money can provide. It's the time to do the things that you want to do. I like money because it allows me to do the things I want to do, when I want to do them, and with whom I want to do them. Okay? That's what money gives me. And I think a lot of you like that too. I think a lot of you like to do a lot of great things, but you will do the things and worry later. I don't want the worry. Let's extract that from the equation. Okay? Let's figure out how we can create the money to do the things, and then our money's also creating more money for us in the background so we can do more of the things we enjoy. Because I'll tell you something, there's a cost of waiting. And when I say this, I mean the cost of saying I'll do it later, and I'll try it next month, or I'll do it next year. Later isn't free, okay? Later costs you. It costs something to wait. And every time you make a decision that you're not going to do something, what you are doing is taking food and money out of your own pocket. Now, I can show you this mathematically, but I think many of you already know how this equation works. So, let's do the math, right? Let's say if you invest $500 a month, say you start today, and you do that for the next 20 years consistently, and you get an average return of 7%, you'll end up with something in the neighborhood of $260,000, okay? If you wait one single year, 12 months, and you do that same contribution of $500 a month, but over 19 years, you get about $240,000. By just waiting 1 year, it's cost you $20,000. Wait 2 years, you're looking at $40,000. And you didn't do anything wrong. You just waited. You hesitated. You didn't act. So this is what later costs you. But it also costs you things that you can't see. Worry, stress, poor decisions that are made in haste because you don't have the funds to do what you want to do, and so you do it anyway and you incur debt. There's so much that goes on besides just the numbers. And I want you to understand that we're going to cover that as well. Yeah, I can show you the numbers and the charts and the graphs, but I want you to also understand the emotional, mental, and physical toll that waiting takes on you and on your body and on your relationships and on your entire life. I don't want that for you, right? I don't want you waiting around for maybe this possible readiness that could occur. That's just not going to have, it's not going to happen because the chance is right now and the doors are closing tomorrow. So you can be the one who makes the decision that, hey, this makes sense. Or you can decide to continually stress yourself, your relationships, your family, everything. Why would you make that choice? All right, let me tell you what's waiting for you inside the program, because many of you, even though you've read the emails, you still have questions. You went to the webinar, you still have questions, and that's fair. I want you to question this, but I also want you to question yourself at the same time, okay? And I say that with all the gentility in the world, because I know that sometimes when we don't believe that something is for us, we will exclude ourselves without giving it a chance. All right. So from Middle Class to Millions, your 100K portfolio is a 12-week live group coaching program. And I want to stress the word live one more time, because I think it's very important. Because you're not buying a course that is just going to sit on your hard drive. You're not getting a bunch of PDFs. You're joining a cohort. You are getting on Zoom calls with me, only with me. Okay, you're doing the work in real time. You're going to get the support, you're going to get the accountability, and you're going to get a group of people who are all working towards the same thing. It is imperative for you to have access to somebody who can answer your questions. It is imperative for you to have access to somebody who created a multi-million-dollar net worth simply from investing and understanding how to manage cash flow and understanding how to pay off debt and understanding the importance of an emergency fund and understanding the importance of building a portfolio. I want you to have access to me so that I can answer your questions. All of them. The ones that you think are silly, the ones that you think are simple, when you don't even know how to formulate the words to ask the question because the financial jargon is so complicated. You're going to learn all of that. And it's going to be live. Like next Tuesday, April 21st, we're going to have our first live call at 7 p.m. That's 5 days from now. Right? That's all you're going to need. There's information in there ready and waiting for you to get started that the people who've already joined have already had access to. You can't fall behind if you make the first call. You can't fall behind even when you're in the calls, because there are going to be replays of all of the calls so that you can listen to them again. So that if you have additional questions, you can come back and ask. There's going to be support for you, not only by me, but you're going to be in a group with other people who are going to have questions that you may not even have thought of. And all of you are going to get answers. Live answers. So I want to walk you through what the 12 weeks are going to look like. And we're going to start, before we even touch a single investment account, we're going to start with the wealth builder identity. And the reason why this is the first thing that I think is important for us to talk about, and a lot of programs miss this step, is because before we talk about where to put your money, we have to talk about who you're being in relationship to money. There's a reason why you are where you are with your money right now. And a lot of you have a lot of experience. And that experience explains how you've arrived at this place, whether you're in debt, whether you've invested, whether you don't understand your investments, whether you're not maximizing your workplace benefits, whether you're not negotiating, whether you're not using all of your HSA and you're using it as an expense account. All of these things are built around your relationship with money and where you came from and how money was treated in your household. And so we're going to look into that. And I don't want to skip over it. We have a lot of time to go through the numbers, but we need a lot of time to also talk about, how did you get here? Why did you get to this place? And I've seen women who are making a ton of money self-sabotage their way out of wealth for a whole slew of reasons. Sometimes it's, you just don't even know. And you make these decisions that really tank your potential to build wealth. But sometimes, just sometimes, there are people that have another whole host of reasons that causes them to sabotage their ability to build wealth. And we got to get to that right away, and we got to fix that right off the bat. And then we figure out in the next module, like, where you actually are in your wealth journey. Because everybody starts from a different place. And I want to talk about where you are right now. I know everyone wants to get to their first 100K, or if they have 300K already, they want to get to 500 and they want to get to 1 million. I get that. But I want to understand where you are right now. Because the strategy for someone who's just getting started looks very different from the strategy for someone who already has some accounts open and is trying to optimize those accounts. I want to meet you exactly where you are and map out what comes up next for you specifically. All right? And we're going to map out the real math of 100,000. That's an actual module where I'm going to actually show you the numbers and what it takes to get to a 6-figure portfolio. And I know for some of you who haven't started, that number sounds massive. And I know for some of you it sounds impossible. And that's exactly why we do this module, because I want you to see that the math is way more forgiving than you think, and it looks quite simple. But you have to see it for yourself. In Module 5, we're going to talk about cash flow, expenses, and debt. And we're going to get into what's really happening with your money right now. Because I know a lot of people, they're sitting on a ton of money in their house, but they're cash poor, right? Their house is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and they've got tons of equity, but yet still things feel tight and they don't have a dime invested in the market, or very little. And I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about your cash flow and your expenses. And I want to talk about your debt, because many of you will not start investing until you pay off your debt. And I will tell you this right now. I did not wait to pay off all of my debt. I did not do it. If I had done that, I would have lost so much money in compound interest, because I would have been outside of the market. And being in the market is what's the most important thing. So I do want to address that in the program. I think that is critical. And then we're going to talk about bougie budgeting. And I call it bougie budgeting on purpose because I know you guys are bougie. And I know you like to think you're not bougie. And I know you like to tell me you don't like to buy expensive bags, or, you don't like to do many things. But you do like to spend money, and things cost a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to live. It costs a lot of money to travel. It costs a lot of money to do a quick little weekend trip. It costs money. And you need money. And you are bougie, and we've got to figure out a way so that you could live your life today and still create money for the future. And a lot of you don't quite know how you're going to make that happen. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, because it's important. It's very important. And we're going to get right into the investing foundations. This is the how. This is critical. How to open the accounts, what type of accounts to open, what to invest in, how to actually do this thing called investing. We're not going to have jargon. I'm not going to assume you know anything. If you do, great. If you don't, excellent. We're starting from scratch, and we're going to build your understanding from the ground up, because a lot of people think they know and they actually don't, and they're getting confused, and they're hearing a little bit here and a little bit there. And no, you are going to come out of here with a financial education. You are going to be financially literate. You are going to be the people in France who can say bread and cheese and wine en français. Okay, that is who you're going to be at the end of the 12 weeks. And then you're going to have a 100K plan. And you can put 100K in there. If you have 300K, you could put 500K in there, 750 in there. I don't care what number you put in there, because this is where all the previous modules come together into one specific personalized plan. They're going to be your numbers, your timeline, your accounts, your strategy. Okay? This is going to be your actual plan, the plan that you can follow after the 12 weeks and just keep doing what you're doing. In Module 8, we're going to cover wealth while working. And I like this module. I like it a lot for my W-2 earners. And I also like it a lot for my business owners. But I want to tell you something. This module is specifically about maximizing everything that's available to you as an employee right now. And for my business owners, that means you too, because you should also have a 401k in your business. If you do not, you better get in here, because you're missing out. For the W-2 earners, I like this because I was a W-2 earner. I didn't have a big business. I didn't have a business at all, right? I had a paycheck that came sometimes every 2 weeks, sometimes the 15th and the 30th. And I used that paycheck and my 401k. Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about whether you're contributing up to the max. And we're going to talk about your health savings account. Do you have one? Do you have access to one? Most of you are using this as a spending account, and a lot of you don't realize, hey, this can be another retirement account. And it is one of the most powerful investing tools available to you. These benefits, your compensation structure, and there's almost always money sitting in your employment package that you're not using strategically, and we're going to fix that. And we're going to talk about negotiating your promotions, your raises, your salary. We're going to talk about how to do that. Because you make an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a year, I'll show you what that will turn into if you invest it and invest it properly. In Module 9, we're going to cover Fancy FIRE. I know a lot of people did not know when I did the webinar what FIRE stood for, and it's an acronym for Financially Independent, Retire Early. And financial independence is when your investments create enough money for you to live off of, meaning you don't have to go to work anymore. So it gives you the choice to work because you want to, not because you have to. And I call it Fancy FIRE because the version of financial independence I'm talking about is not just moving into a small one-bedroom apartment and starting to eat cat food and cutting every expense to the bone. It's about building enough wealth such that work becomes a choice, okay? And we talk about what that number is for you and how to get there and how soon you'll be able to get there. And then Module 10, which is one of my favorites, is staying invested for life. Because when you walk out the door after these 12 weeks, you've got a skill set that you can use for the rest of your life. It's not going to change. If the stock market doesn't change, this isn't going to change. The way that you think about money, you will look at it very differently. You will ask yourselves different questions when you make decisions about money. Because this isn't just a 12-week program. This is the beginning of a practice that you're going to use forever. And we're going to talk about how you can stay in the market even when it's scary. We're going to talk about your risk tolerance and what risk is. We're going to talk about how you can manage your portfolio over the long term. And we're going to talk about how to make wealth building a permanent part of how you operate. Not just something you did for a quarter and then you fell off. No, we're going to talk about legacy and we're going to talk about generational wealth. We're going to cover all of that in 12 weeks. Every single week, we're going to get together and talk about it. And we're going to do it in such a way that you will not fall behind. You will not get lost because you'll have me there every step of the way, supporting you, guiding you, and answering all of your questions. I know I didn't have access to a millionaire or to somebody who had built their wealth that I could ask questions about how to go about doing it. And I built this wealth while working. I didn't create the next Uber or Airbnb, or I didn't do any of that. I had a 9-to-5, which makes this attainable and accessible for you. Now let's talk about some of the things that I've heard and some of the reasons that some of you may be a little hesitant. And like I said, I want to answer these questions for you. I want to answer these reasons, okay? I've heard that people said I can't afford the $2,800. And that's a common one, right? The investment itself. And the program investment, it's $2,800. And if that number made you flinch, I think that for the folks that are making six figures or very close to six figures, that's problematic. And I'm going to tell you why. Because that is a portion of one of your paychecks. Okay? Not a month, of one of your paychecks. And if that amount of money, you do not see that $2,800 to get to $100,000 is a 35 times return, this is what we're talking about. Learning to think like an investor. Because I want you to say that out loud. 35 times your investment. If you could find something else in your life that's offering you that, please let me know, because I want to get in on it as well, right? Because I'm an investor. I like to get in on anything that gives me a tremendous return on my investment. So think about what else you're spending money on right now that is going to multiply itself 35 times over. And I want to be honest with you, when I hear that somebody can't afford it, particularly somebody who's making close to six figures or over six figures, it's really telling me something else is going on, right? Yeah, it may not be the right financial moment. If that's true, fair. But more often than not, people are not prioritizing this yet. And I have yet to come across somebody who's older who says, yeah, I really regret investing. I really regret having this money now. Instead, what I always hear is, I wish I had done this sooner. So I really want you to think about this when you make the decision based off of the $2,800. Another thing I hear a lot is, I have too much debt to invest in right now. Now, this comes up a lot because there's been a history of a lot of financial gurus saying that you need to eliminate all of your debt before you start investing. And you've got to do it as quickly as possible, as rapidly as possible, irrespective of what's going on. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly, because not all debt is created equally. And if you have debt at 20%, that's very different than debt at 2%. I'm very sorry, it is. If you have debt that, you owe the IRS, yeah, that's very different than credit card debt, which is very different than a HELOC or a personal loan. All debt is not created equally. And what the problem is that most people have is, they don't have a debt payoff strategy, and they don't have a debt payoff deadline. So the debt lingers around forever and ever and ever, and it's burdensome and it's annoying. I want to teach you how to create this debt payoff strategy and the date in which you will have this debt paid off. But I also want you to have room to live. I don't want you throwing all of your money at your debt such that you have nothing left over. And the minute that something happens, you don't have an emergency fund set up and you don't have any money. And guess what? You go back into debt. And it's that vicious cycle. We're going to break it. We're going to break it. So if you feel like you have too much debt right now, I want you to really know that we're going to do the analysis. You're going to do it with me. You're not going to do it alone. You're not going to have a spreadsheet. You're going to do the analysis with me. I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk you through it. And then we're going to decide which priorities we're going to take when it comes to the debt. And you're still going to be able to invest. Even if it's $1, I want you to learn. Okay? I want you to learn how to do it. And as the debt goes down, you can ratchet up the amount you're investing. As I've told you before, I started with $25 a month. Okay? Obviously, I didn't stop at $25 a month, but that's where I got my investment knowledge. And I was still paying off student loans, cars, mortgages, like everything, credit cards, everything, you name it. But I was investing. I didn't wait. And I'm glad that I didn't wait, because I didn't lose out on that compound interest. Now, I've also heard that people say they don't make enough money because to have anything left over to invest. Little topsy-turvy. We invest first. We don't wait until something's left over. If we continue to wait until something's left over, we'll never have enough. We'll never have anything. I know that goes for me. If I wait until I have something left over, I never would have invested, because I will spend every last dime you put in my hand. That's who I am. But I'm also the woman who's like, hey, that's not going to work out for me. That's not going to make for a happy situation. So instead, let me set it up such that I invest first. I pay myself first. I take care of me first. And then anything that's left over will take care of everything else. And I think it requires you to look at actually where your money is going. Or does it just feel like you don't have anything left over after you've paid the bills? I've had conversations with women who've said that. I get on the phone with them. We start working together, and quite clearly, there are things that they have there that A, they didn't know about, B, they didn't care about, and we can eliminate very quickly. I always find money. Always. And very quickly, they can get that debt paid off, they're investing, and if they hadn't started, they never would have been able to start building wealth. So I think it's very important to really ask yourself these questions about your cash flow. And we talk about that a lot. And we also talk about what's available to you in terms of work. Because a lot of you are not exercising your ability to negotiate your entry salaries. You're not exercising your ability to negotiate a raise or to get that promotion or to even go for the promotion. That's leaving money on the table. So saying you don't have enough money to invest, but not actually taking advantage of what's in front of you, well, yeah, we're going to address that as well. Now, many of you, we talked about this. I'll do it later. Now just isn't the right time. When's later? This is the question I always ask. When's later? The time is going to pass regardless. Okay? 2027 is coming. 2030 is coming. The time is going to pass regardless. How you decide to take control of the time is entirely up to you. It is going to pass regardless. And I've been around long enough to know that nobody, ever regrets getting started. They just don't. And, we talked about the financial cost of waiting, but like I said, we're also talking about the physical, emotional, mental cost of waiting. We don't need to do that. Now is the time. Now is the time. And really, if there's really a specific reason that you can't do it right now, I will respect that. But if later is just because, you want comfort, or you're afraid, I'm going to gently call you out, because you deserve to set yourself up so that you can be successful, so that you can take care of yourself. Now, I know some of you are like, I'm too busy. I don't have time for a 12-week commitment. I don't think you have time not to. Honestly, I'm talking about 1 hour a week. If you do not have 1 hour a week to dedicate to your money that you're working 40, 50, 60 hours for, something's off, and you've got to revisit that. 1 hour a week to make sure that the money that you're earning is actually working for you. To me, I would say you've got to carve out the 60 minutes. It's important. And I want you to think about what your life will look like when you have that 6-figure portfolio, when you have real investments that are working for you, when you have like fancy fire on the horizon. There's more to your life right now than grueling and worrying and stressing. 1 hour a week can help nullify a lot of that pain and torture. So I don't think you have the option to say, I don't have time for it. I think it's exactly what you have time for. Some people have said to me, I need to learn more basics first. I'm not ready. I don't even know what that means. I did get this from somebody, and I'm like, that's where we're starting from, the basics, right? I know what it means to like try to learn a little bit more. It's kind of like, let me lose a little weight before I go to the gym. Let me clean up before the cleaning lady comes. All of that prep to get ready to almost get started. No, that just doesn't exist. The readiness comes from actually showing up for yourself and doing the work. And in the module of investing foundations, I assume you know nothing. Like I said, if you do, great. But you don't need to know what an index fund is before you join. You don't need to have any accounts open. You don't have to have any prior experience with anything financial. I'm walking people through this, and I have walked people through this who genuinely knew nothing about investing and who left with fully funded, diversified portfolios. And they even knew what that meant when they left, because some of you don't know what that means. And that's what that module's for. So you're ready, right? You're ready. The readiness is on the other side of the decision. It's not in front of it. All right? I got the market is too volatile right now. This isn't a good time to invest. Market volatility is the best time to invest. When the market is high, invest. When the market is low, invest. Just continue investing. And I will explain why I take that approach and why that approach works. You don't try to time the market. It is a fool's game, and people who time the market historically do not do any better than people who stay in the market. It is time in the market, not timing the market, that is the most important. And that's why when we are in module 10 and we're talking about staying invested for life, that is what this is about. It's understanding risk, more specifically understanding your risk tolerance, understanding why you're investing, when you're investing, and when people are freaking out, why it is important to remain calm. We are going to cover all of that. Another question I got is, what if this doesn't work for me? And this is the one that lives underneath all the other questions. It's really what's behind every single other question that comes up. This is the real question, really. Because what if I do this and it doesn't work for you? And, I can give you all the math in the world and you can still come back with, but what if I'm the exception? What if I do this and it doesn't work out for me? Look, I want to be very frank about this. All of the folks that I've worked with, they didn't start out rich. If they started out rich, they wouldn't be here. Let's be honest, right? People who start out rich, this is taken care of for them. They learn this either at home or they have like wealth managers that are taking care of this for them. I'm talking about people who started exactly where you are right now, who are confused, who had debt, who had never learned any of this stuff before, who saw that this was possible for other people and didn't know if it was actually possible for them. But this program is live. Like, I'm with you for 12 weeks. I'm the person. It's not a video course. It's not a PDF. It's me. I'm here with you. Somebody who built this on her own. If something doesn't make sense, I want you to bring it to the call. I want you to ask the question. I want you to get the real answers from me, a real person who's actually done what I'm showing you and what I'm teaching you. That access is the entire point. That is what's going to make it work for you. It can't not, like that double negative. It has to work for you. Because if you show up, it's going to work. That's the simplicity behind this whole process and the program. I'm going to strip away the confusion. I'm going to strip away the jargon. I'm going to ensure that this is the way that you can approach your finances, your money, your investing, your cash flow, your expenses, your debt, all of your things with your particular circumstance in mind. It has to work, and it will. I already have a financial advisor. Do I need this? I answered this question as well during the webinar, and I don't have a problem with people who have financial advisors. My problem is that the people who come to me who have a financial advisor don't have any financial literacy. And they've been paying a financial advisor for years, and they cannot tell me what the difference is between A and B, but they don't feel comfortable with the financial advisor. So I'm like, why are you paying them? But they are afraid to leave them because they don't understand anything, even though they've been working with an advisor for years. Your financial advisor is going to manage your portfolio. And if they are educating you, great. But I am going to take it beyond the portfolio. Yes, I'm going to educate you on your portfolio, your 100K portfolio. Absolutely. I'm going to teach you what you're invested in, why you're invested in it, how much you're going to have, how long it's going to last, what it's going to be like in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I'm going to teach you all of that, but I'm also going to talk to you about cash flow and expenses and savings and all debt and the investing, all things personal finance, so that you can make decisions on your entire financial life and not just on your portfolio. So it's all encompassing. There's so much more to it. And if you decide you want a financial advisor at the end of this, great. Keep your financial advisor, but make sure that you can have an intelligent conversation with them and you're not just looking at glossy charts and you don't understand what they're talking about when they're taking their 1, 2, 3% out of your portfolio every single year. That's the difference. That's why I don't have a problem with you having a financial advisor. I prefer you not have one until you get to $1 million in your portfolio, and then you have a wealth advisor or a tax strategist. But that is clearly your decision. I want you to have the education and the financial literacy to be able to talk to the person across the way from you who is managing your finances and charging you every single year. Okay? I need to talk to my partner first, or I need to think more. Okay, both of these come together, like, someone needs to talk to their partner or they want to give this more thought. I respect that. I think that, if you've been thinking about this for years, I don't know what you still need to think about. I don't know what you still need to ponder if you haven't taken action. I think that's a question that you have to ask yourself. You don't need more time to think. You need to figure out what the hesitation is, right? Because what are you truly thinking about? So what is still unresolved? Because honestly, in my experience, more time doesn't create clarity on its own. Right? You have to name actually what your concern is, what the problem is, name it to yourself, name it out loud, and let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Now, if you have to talk to your partner, of course, I think that this is something, I want you to bring your partner if you can. That's the best move, to be quite honest, so that you two are on the same page and are working together. But if you need to talk to your partner, as you should, I want you to think about what the conversation actually looks like, right? Like, what questions does your partner have? What do they need to know to feel good about this? And if you do have the questions, then bring them to me. On tomorrow, Friday, I'm going to be on Instagram Live, and I'm going to be doing Is This For Me? Opportunity where you can come on and ask if this program is truly for you. You've been reading the emails, you went to the webinar, you've been sending me questions, and if you still have questions or your partner has questions, bring your partner, get your partner to jump on and ask questions. I think that's an amazing opportunity, again, to get clarification. So come together, ask me directly, get the real answers. Yeah, I think this is important. So if it's the money, I talked about that. If it's the time, I talked about that as well. And if it's fear, I just talked about that. So I want to know what's left. I really want to know what's left that's going to make you decide that this is actually what you need. Because I'm going to tell you something, and this is really about my program or any program that you decide to do. If you are not investing, you will not build wealth. That is clear. You cannot build wealth if you're putting your money in a savings account, even your high yield savings account. It is not going to enable you to build wealth and keep up with inflation. You are not going to be able to do it. So I want you to learn this skill, but I want you to understand that it's not as complicated as many make it out to be. And once you do it, you're going to be so happy that you've done it. Because that money is going to be there in the background when you're here living your life. And it's going to be working for you while you're just going about your days and living your life. And one day you're going to turn around and look up and see the tremendous amount of growth that you've had. And the difference that made simply because you got started. Simply because you didn't wait until the cart closed tomorrow, Friday, April 17th. I don't want you to miss the opportunity. I really don't. And I think that we're starting on Tuesday. And Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So whether you join today or tomorrow after the Instagram Live, you have days to prepare and get excited. I've been dropping little nuggets in the group for the people who have already signed up. And you'll have time to get in that group and see all of that stuff as well. But when the window closes, it closes. Okay. And I'm not going to make any exceptions because when it's done, it's done. And the reason why is I want to honor the people that are already in there. And I want everyone to feel they're in a safe environment where they're not going to be stragglers just coming in at any time. That's not fair to them. And it wouldn't be fair to you. And I think it's important for you to get a comprehensive, all-inclusive, opportunity to learn as much as possible. It's not going to be jam-packed where you're going to feel overwhelmed, but you're going to walk away and you're going to hear conversations and you're going to know what people are talking about. You're going to hear things on the news and you're going to know what people are talking about. And you're going to be able to look at your financial advisor, look at your 401k, look at your portfolio, look at your money and know what you're talking about. That will bring the anxiety levels all the way down. So I'm putting the enrollment link in the show notes. I'm also putting my Instagram handle in the show notes as well. Because if you want to ask more questions before you join, Friday's your opportunity. Okay? But if you're ready right now, I want you to get in. Because when I close the doors, if it fills up, I'm going to close before the doors close. Right? So I want to leave you with this. I built a multi-million-dollar net worth on a regular salary. I built a multi-million-dollar net worth on $25 a month. That's where I started. I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I wasn't special. I didn't have the secrets that nobody else has access to. In fact, it was very hard to get access to information back then because there was a lot of gatekeeping. And I don't want to do that. And I know that a lot of people, it pains me to know that a lot of people are working really hard, and it's strictly lack of information that's preventing them from building wealth. I learned the language of money, and I did the work. And I want to teach you the language of money. And I want to help you. I want to be there with you, and I want you to do it a hell of a lot faster than I did, because you're not going to run into the bumps and the pitfalls that I did. But you have to show up. You have to say yes. And you have to do that before tomorrow. I want this for you. You want this for you. I want you to learn this information and pass it on. That is so important. Because a lot of us don't have to be locked out of spaces because we simply didn't have access. I'm providing you with the access. The link is in the show notes. And I want to see you on the inside. All right. Take care.